left off with a very important lesson yesterday, Chavtes Amud Beis 29b, where the last lesson of yesterday was that Eliyahu told Rabbi Yehuda not to get angry, and as a result of that, if you don't get angry, you're not going to sin. And the Ramban, the famous letter of Igeret Ramban, that the Ramban wrote a letter, and he talks about how terrible the midah of anger is. And it's very important to read the letter of the Ramban. And if we read the letter of the Ramban and realize how important how terrible anger is, we won't come to get angry. And the Ramban talks about what are the keys not to get angry? What do you need to do? What are the steps? And one of the steps he says is to talk softly. When you talk softly, that helps to prevent you from getting angry. Person who talks loud, strong type of talk, that type of person very often gets angry. So therefore, we should train ourselves when we talk to people to talk in a soft tone. So that was the last thing that we said yesterday. And then we started also yesterday about 6-7 lines in the
Rabbi,
bottom. Yes.
it's funny because again, I'm repeating in a way my words, but the class of Rabbi Farhi from the day before that I told you about, he was actually talking about the same thing, that, it doesn't matter what mitzvah you do, okay? And he talking about this kind of mitzvah and how you do mitzvah, but he says when the person is angry, God cannot dwell in the same room as him, because
Right.
he cannot be compete with the ego, so he just not existing in the room.
Right. All right. Anger is, by the way, anger is a lack of peace. Anger is like the opposite of peace, and God does not, when there's machloket, when there's fights, God does not dwell in such a place. I once had the honor, call it the honor, of going to a house of a husband and a wife that they were not getting along properly, and they weren't treating each other properly. And I told them that God is outside this house. He's knocking on the door. The doors can't come into such a house. The way they treated each other was so inappropriate. I told them God doesn't come into such a house. There's no Shekhinah. It says Ish v'Isha, a husband and a wife. When they treat each other properly, then God's divine presence is there. But if they don't treat each other with peace, then God doesn't spend his time in such a place. That means to say, of course, God is all over. That means the person's not going to have special protection, special blessing. When God is with the person, God is with you, so to speak. It represents great blessing. But when people are fighting and arguing, not having peace, being angry, God separates himself from such places. So the Gemara said yesterday, we ended that the Gemara, we'll go back to that Gemara. The last thing that Eliyahu Hanavi said is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 lines from the bottom. When you go out to the road, when you travel, you go out, what do? You go ahead and you first pray. There's a prayer that you need to say when you go out to travel, which is called Tfilat HaDerech, which is a Tfilat HaDerech, a prayer of traveling. And really, the way Aruch HaShulchan writes, it's really an obligation to pray this prayer when you're traveling. Now, again, certain laws, when do you say it, and so on and so on, what the requirements, and we're going to learn about that today. So when you travel, say, you should go ahead and seek the counsel, the permission, so to speak, of your creator, and then go out, which means to say that God, when you pray, God will go ahead and help you, that you should be successful in your trip. And what is it? Amar Rav Yaakov, Amar Rav Chizda, what does it mean to consult with your creator? You consult with your creator when you pray to your creator. That's your consultation with God. Zu Tfilas HaDerech. With Tfilas HaDerech, in a certain sense, you're consulting with him, you're getting permission, so to speak. God is giving you permission, good morning, to travel. When you go ahead and you ask him, that God, you should go ahead and help me that I should be successful. My travel should be with peace, and nobody should start up with me, so to speak. And in a certain sense, God is giving, but by you doing that, God is saying, yes, I'm happy that you should go, and I'm going to help you in this trip that you are taking. Now, Amar Rav Yaakov, Amar Rav Chizda, Chalayotze l'derech. Anybody who travels, Sarich l'spalel tfilas haderech. So you hear the Gemara. It's now Rabbi Yaakov is adding to what we said before. You know, Eliyahu says when you travel, you should go. Eliyahu Navi says you should go in and say tfilas haderech. Maybe that's a nice thing to do. Maybe it's a praiseworthy thing to do, but do you have to do it? Maybe he's telling this particular rabbi to do it. Is it a responsibility of every person to go ahead and say tfilas haderech when he travels? So therefore, the Gemara says, good morning, is that Morris? Good morning, Morris. And good morning, Mike. Good morning, everybody. Shmuel, Avram, and Yosef, and everybody.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Morning. So he says, so Rabbi Yaakov, in the name of Chizda, clarifies and says that this is the halacha. The halacha is that there's a requirement. There's a requirement that a person, when he travels, when certain conditions are met, we are 4 lines from the bottom, Mike. On Chavtet Amud Beis 29b. You are required. You need to pray Tfilas Haderech. And the Gemara says, "And my Tfilat Haderech." What is the text of Tfilah? You tell me you have a Tfilah on the road. What is this Tfilah on the road? What is this, Morris? You hear? What is the Tfilah on the road, Morris? You're doing traveling, right? So this is an important Tfilah. People are traveling.
I said go mail today, Rabbi.
What did you say?
I said go mail today. I said go mail today.
Very good. But now that's go mail. But if you're traveling anywhere today, if you're going on a plane, so there's something to say. So, and if you're traveling, so let's see what he says. Amar Rav Yaakov, Amar Rav Chizda. Kol hayotzei l'derech sarich l'spal tfilas haderech. My tfilas haderech. So here now the Gemara gives us the text of the tfilas haderech. Yiratzol nufanecha, Hashem Elokai, it should be your will, shetolicheni l'shalom, that you should lead me towards peace. V'tzatzideni l'shalom, my footsteps towards peace. Now it seems to be interesting that the double language of lead me towards peace, my footsteps towards peace, tismicheni l'shalom, and uphold me in peace. I wonder, that there are 3 sets of language referring to making sure that I should be in peace. And maybe perhaps it's the reason why it's 3 times, because maybe we know 3 is a chazakah. 3 is strength. When you 3 times, when you do something 3 times, it becomes gets into a habit, so to speak. When you have 3 generations, when you have 3 generations of Torah, when 3 generations of Torah in the family, grandfather, son, and grandson, then you know it's going to be forever. So you know that when you have 3 generations of Torah, so that's a chazakah. When you learn Baba Kama, you remember? The animal gores 3 times. Last week's parasha, last week was Mishpatim. It's a chazakah. So perhaps that's why it's 3 times in the language of the Tfilas Haderech. And we have Kiddush Levana this month. Some of us, you have to do Kiddush Levana. And what do you do? We do, by Ashkenazim, I don't know about the Sfaradim, what do we do? Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem 3 times also. We say 3 times Shalom Aleichem. Yaron and Guadalupe says that's what the Sfaradim do also. Morris, that's what you do. In Florida, you do that also, Morris. So we got the palm trees in Florida over there. So,
yeah, beautiful. Thank God.
The palm trees look good. You have to remember, you got to do Kiddush Levana. I don't know when you're coming back.
I just prayed. Yeah.
Very good. And 3 times again. Maybe that's perhaps why it's repeated. The idea of shalom is mentioned 3 times in this in this bracha of Tfilas HaDerech. Morning, Akiva. Now,
Come on, Rabbi.
morning. Now, v'tatzilenu, v'tatzileni, mikaf kol oyev, v'oyev b'derech. And part of the prayer when you travel is that you're saying, Hashem, you should save me, rescue me from the hand of every enemy and any ambush. You know, people get ambushed, people jump them from behind. I know someone who was once mugged. He was jumped from behind. It's terrible. And that's we're asking God to save me from any enemy that we see or any enemy or any ambush on the road. Tishlach, as you know, traveling on roads, that's where it's not so, there's a danger. The Tishlach bracha b'ma'aseh yadai. And we say you should give blessing in the work of my hand. V'sitneini l'cheinu l'chesed rachamim be'einecha. And we ask for favor. We should be grant. You should give me favor. Find favor in your eyes, and you should also give favor, and also l'chesed. We should be kindness. We're asking God to treat us with kindness. What does it mean, kindness? Kindness means I might not be deserving of this protection, but we're asking you to please act out of kindness to give me this protection, even if I'm not deserving. And you should give me kindness and mercy, rachmeinecha, in your eyes, ube'einei kol ra'ai. And in front of everybody, I should find favor in everybody's eyes. Everyone should like me. No one should, everyone should have mercy on me and be kind to me. Baruch atah Hashem shomei tefillah. Blessed you, Hashem shomei tefillah. That is the text that this opinion says. That's the text. We're going to see a little change. The Gemara is going to continue. Amma Abaye. We're in the last verse of the page. Amma Abaye la'olam. And now we're on Lamed Amud Aleph. Mazel Tov Mabruk. We're on 30. We're on 30. And by the way, you should know we're almost finished with this parak. By the way, we're on the last. Right, Mike. Mike is getting ready to make a siyum on the parak. The next page finishes the parak. L'olam, what does Abaye say? Yaron, Abaye says, L'olam yishtatef inish nafshei b'hadisibura. You're always supposed to, when you say a prayer, you always connect with the group. You always connect with the tzibur in plural. You don't just talk about yourself. When you pray, you're supposed to pray in a language for yourself and for the community, for other people. When you're traveling, one of the commentators explained, you're not the only traveler. There are other travelers also traveling, right? There are other travelers traveling. So when you pray, yes.
I think I missed. I'm sorry. Did you guys say when is the Tfilat HaDerech supposed to be said?
No, we didn't say that. We didn't say it. We're introducing the Tfilat HaDerech, the text of the Tfilat HaDerech. What is the proper text of saying the Tfilat HaDerech? So first the Gemara introduced the text, and now comes the Abaye and says we got to make a little amendment to the text. We got to change it a little bit because you have to talk you cannot talk about only yourself. When you're praying for something, you're supposed to pray. When you pray in the plural. If you have a need and other people have this need, so pray in the plural. Let's say, for instance, in Amidah and the Shemona Esrei, we say Baruch Aleinu, bless upon us. Not Baruch Alai, not just bless me. The year should be good for me. We don't say Shema Koli. We don't say hear my voice. We say Shema Koleinu. Excuse me, our voices. The power of when you pray, you're praying for everybody, then you have all those merits come together. And therefore, he says, you're not supposed to say, Shetolicheni l'shalom, Sasideni l'shalom, me, that I should be peace, rather we, the plural. And Rashi says an amazing language of the Rashi, Shemitoch kach tfilotot nishmat. When you pray and when you include other people in the prayer.
Where's the Rashi, Rabbi?
Look at the top Rashi, Lamed Amud Aleph. The first Rashi, Lishatef nafshei, join yourself. So Rashi says, Don't pray this short tefillah in a singular language just about yourself. Ela b'loshen rabim, about me and others together. Mitoch kach, Rashi says, as a result of that, what will happen, Mike?
Tfilato
Tfilato
nishmat.
That's the key. Those two words of the Rashi, that your prayer will be heard when you pray in the plural with others. You're praying for not just yourself. When a person, we all know, we have the concept that says, if I'm mispalel ba'ad chaveiro, u'tzorech lo osa davar, hu'yinayin atchila. When you pray for your friend and you need the thing as well, you will get answered first. But there's another idea. When you're praying for your friend, when God sees that you're praying and not just thinking about yourself, you're doing an act of kindness. You're concerned for your friend as well. You're thinking about your friend as well. So God says, if you're thinking about your friend, you're asking also for your friend. You care about your friend also. So I'll take care of you as well. Perhaps maybe that's how it works. I'm just suggesting ideas. What's the power? Why is it so powerful when you pray in a Loshen Rabim? So it's one idea we're suggesting, because you're thinking about your friend, you're not just thinking about yourself. And when you're thinking about somebody else, it's an act of chesed. And when you act with kindness to others, Hashem acts with kindness to you. The way you treat others, God treats you, perhaps. So that, and now the Gemara says, Heichi Neima. What is the proper text in plural? Yirosomu fanecha Hashem Elokeinu shetolichenu l'shalom. That we should bring all of us b'shalom, and so on and so forth. And that's everything is switched to the plural, as you'll see. And that is lahalacha l'maaseh. Everything is switched to the plural. Now, what's interesting to note is that this bracha does not begin with the Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Olam. Right? So that's unique. Most brachot begin with the Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Olam, and the only time it does not begin with the Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Olam, like the Amidah, bracha number 2, 2 to 19 does not begin with the Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Olam. Correct? Is that correct? Yaron, how does bracha number 2? Ata Gibor L'Olam. Does it start with the Baruch, the bracha number 2 in Amidah? Yes or no?
Yes.
Ata Gibor L'Olam. It ends with a Baruch Atah Hashem.
Yeah, it ends with a Baruch Atah.
So why it doesn't start with a Baruch? So why doesn't it start with a Baruch? What we spoke about, bracha slucha lechavertei. Remember psachim. If a bracha is connected to another bracha, if it's a part of a group of brachot, it rides on the coattails of the first bracha. If you have a group that you have to say 19 brachot, so therefore bracha number 2, so bracha number 2 is riding off bracha number 1. Bracha number 3 is riding off bracha number 1. They all are riding off the first Baruch Atah Hashem. Correct? Similarly in Birkat Hamazon, right? What's bracha number 2 in Birkat Hamazon, everybody? Mike, what's bracha number 2 in Birkat Hamazon?
No day.
It's riding off the first bracha, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu Melech Olam. So now the question is, so now the commentaries discuss regarding this bracha of Tfilat HaDerech. What is it riding off? How does it begin? It begins Yirasomu Fanecha and ends Baruch Atah Hashem Shomei Tfilah. And it's not connected to a bracha before. So some people, therefore, because of this, the Shulchan Aruch brings down that there was a great rabbi, Ram Rutenberg, one of the Rishonim. When he would travel, he would be careful to make sure to connect this bracha to a previous bracha. And many people are careful when they need to say Tfilas HaDerech. Before they say Tfilas HaDerech, they say a bracha shehakol on a food, on a drink, or they go ahead and whenever any bracha they say, and then they follow with a Tfilas HaDerech because of this idea of connecting it to a bracha. But if you don't have anything to connect it to, you can still say the bracha, the Tfilas HaDerech, even without a bracha, even if it's not connected to a bracha. But some people are careful about it's ideal to connect it if you can. That's just a point that I wanted to share with you. Getting back to the Gemara. So now the Gemara says, Emas Matzli. When do you pray this tefillah haderech? When is the right time to pray? Now, if you still, let's say you're in your house and you plan on traveling, is it appropriate to say tefillah haderech in your house? The Gemara says no. The Gemara says you don't say the tefillah haderech when you're in your house. You're supposed to say the tefillah haderech mishah shemahalech b'derech. From the time that you're traveling. Now, some have a, what does it mean from the time that you're traveling? So some have a text that means that's mishah mazik b'derech. You have to be already on the road. That means that you have to already be outside the city. Some understand, and that's what we try to do. We go ahead that, because when we wait till we leave the city and a certain amount of distance outside the city, then we go ahead and we say the tefillah haderech. So if we look at the Mishnah, we'll see a little bit more about this. As we continue, we'll have to identify a little bit more exactly when do we say the tefillah haderech. The Gemara says from the time that you're mishahalech b'derech, you're going on your road, and that needs clarification. What does that exactly mean? So far we're going to translate it. When you leave the city, you stepped out of the city, you went out of the city boundaries, and you're no longer in the city boundaries, and you're not in, and you're, let's say you went a certain amount of feet outside the city. We'll see more about that. That's the time that you go ahead and you say the tefillah haderech. Now, in the Gemara says, let's say you're on a plane, right? So if you're on a plane, so you wait till the plane, according to this, you wait till the plane gets off the ground. It's in the air. It leaves, it left. Presume you wait a few minutes, leaves the city, and you're ready.
Rabbi,
yes.
Every time you do tefillah haderech, you have to do the gomer also?
Yeah. No, not by us. Not by Ashkenazim. I don't know by the Sfardim. Let's say if a guy travels to Lakewood, New Jersey, from the or a guy travels upstate New York. By us, by Ashkenazim, we say Hagoma much less than the Sfardim. If we travel to the Catskills, right? We go upstate to New York. We say tefillah haderech, but we Ashkenazim don't say Hagomel. But the Sfardim might. I know the Sfardim say Hagomel much more often. Correct, Mike? Sfardim are much more. You have to see when the Sfardim say the Hagomel.
Yeah,
But,
these people in Guadeloupe.
Every time they take a taxi.
Every time I take a taxi, they say
Rabbi, these people in Guadeloupe, they take a boat to go to another island, and they do gomel every time they come back to shul.
Very good. Right. Very
No,
good.
Rabbi, I remember
I don't do it, Rabbi. I do only when I take a flight.
No, it's
Okay,
also if you travel more than an hour and a half out of the city.
Out
So
72 minutes, 72
Yes.
minute trip. I think that's how the Yalkut Yosef says if your trip is a 72-minute boat
72
ride,
minutes, exactly.
72-minute plane ride. That's what
No plane, even car ride.
72-minute car ride. But again, but it's outside the city. You left the city.
Outside of yes, you have to leave the city.
You have to leave the city. Right. If you have to be outside the city where there's no people, there's a space of people. You went to a place that nobody's living. But if you go into a place that people are living, so let's say if a guy goes ahead and let's say you're going to go take a trip and there's houses all along the way, then it's like that's like you never really left the city. You left the city means that you left an area, there's no houses, certain amount of distance, no houses, and that's like you left the city. So then you would say the tefillah haderech. So let's see what he says here. He says, Ad kama. How far of a trip? This is how Rashi's second shot learns. How far of a trip does it need to be to say this tefillah haderech? Ad parsa. It has to be the amount of a parsa. Parsa is a 72-minute trip. So now the question really is a 72-minute trip. That means if I'm going to be walking a 72-minute trip. Now the question is, what about if I'm riding? Does the riding have to be a 72-minute ride, or is a 72 what or 72 minutes what it would have taken if I would be walking? Well, let's say do I need to have it now in a plane? In 30 minutes in a plane I could go hundreds of miles. Does it need to be 72 minutes of a plane, or 72 minutes of something that would have taken me to go by walking or some other thing? So that's
And Rabbi,
also,
I don't think 72 minutes is included if you drive there every day. Let's say your office is 72 minutes from your house. You do it every day. I don't think you're going to do Tfilat HaDerech every day.
but I would think if you're going outside the city, I don't see what I know. Someone asked me that question, but I don't see why, if you're going outside the city, so why shouldn't you say the fact that you happen to be traveling every day? I mean, it's still you're going outside the city. I would think you still say the Tfilat HaDerech. I'm not sure if it's true. I mean, we have to ask a posek. I'm not sure if it's true. The fact a guy takes a plane every day. You tell me he's not going to say it because he's taking the plane every day. So he's taking a car every day outside the city. So he's traveling every day. Every day you're traveling, you're leaving the city. I would think you should say the Tfilat HaDerech, unless the posek says that you don't need to. But
yeah, but this is not something you do often, Rabbi. Let's say you drive to your office, it's like 2-hour drive. You can do that every day, and this is common, you know. But if you go to some place that you've never been and it's like 2-hour drive, you might say I do Tfilat HaDerech because I don't know the place, I don't know the drive.
It's not because you don't do it, you do it every day that the danger is not there. It's for the danger that we do it, right?
Not the danger, but
right. So because
what's the reason why we do Tfilat HaDerech?
one of the reasons is the danger. It has to do with danger. You're going on a nice trip, and you need extra protection. You need protection. That's why the focus of the blessing is what's the focus of the blessing? My travel should be in peace, and peace, and peace, and peace. It's not, and there's different things on the road that could happen. So
yeah, but the Rabbi, the danger is even at 5 minutes from your house. It's not like. But I was just saying, because you never did that road before, so you might do Tfilat HaDerech because it's new for you. You don't know exactly, so you want to be sure you do Tfilat HaDerech. But if you do it every day, I don't know if you have to do it.
But it's you know, we pray every day. We have needs every day. I'm taking a big trip every day. So every day I need success in this big trip. So I'm saying, I'm not sure, Yaron, maybe someone says like you. I mean, it's something that needs to be looked into. But a guy goes ahead and he travels to the Catskills every day. Does a 2-hour trip to Catskills every day from Manhattan. It's a nice trip. Yes, it's true. Thank God you're able to you do it every day, but it's a nice trip. You need the protection. Maybe today's day and age, in the old days, we need to make sure that the tires work properly, no blowouts in the car, and all other things, and no crashes, chas v'shalom. You're doing a 2-hour trip. It's a long trip, 72-minute trip. You still need that protection. It's true. And maybe it's pretty safe but it's still that's what it would sound like to me. Because
Rabbi, what is Parsa mean?
Today is Truma. This week's Parsha is Truma. Does he want to know?
No, what is Parsa? They said Parsa.
Oh, Parsa.
Parsa
Parsa is a 72-minute trip. If it's a 72-minute trip, you have to go ahead and
Rabbi, 72-minute trip is when you're not in the city. It's meaning when you go out of the city.
Right. So let's say you leave the city. So that's
meaning this is a place where there's no houses, like this is just like.
So Rabbi, if you live, let's take an example. If you leave the Lincoln Tunnel, right? You go in Jersey. You left New York City. You go Jersey, 72 minutes out. Technically, you have to do the Tfilat HaDerech.
If you leave, when you go, are there houses all? How you go? You go with the Lincoln Tunnel.
You go with your car. There's houses everywhere.
Okay, but let's say you go, if you take the George Washington Bridge, right? So people say on the George Washington Bridge, right? So we have to look place like that. There you would say the Tfilat HaDerech. So let's see a little more. We have to address Yaron's question also. Your own is a good point.
So,
About
Rabbi, when they say the 72 minutes,
when did the 72 minutes begin? That's a good
it's
question.
meaning there's no houses on the way, meaning it's just a road.
No.
Again, no,
The 72 minutes is the minute you left home until the minute you get to the next destination. And on the way, there is no,
and
there
on the
is
way
part
you
of
let,
no
and the way
home.
you left the city, right? On the way you left the city.
Otherwise, it's like today, in today time, almost unless you go to the desert, okay, there is always some house on the way, in a way. But it's not a house that it's your city. There is this disconnection. And you know, the disconnection between the city is like, I don't know how many amot or whatever, that you basically, if you stuck there in Shabbat also, you know, so you have to find yourself, I don't know how to say it, Rabbi, maybe you can help me there.
But that's why we say, like the bridge, you're disconnected from the city. You're not in a place where people are living. So therefore, that would be when you're under George Washington Bridge. That would be a good place to say the Tfilas Derech. But we need to really look into more about this in the practical sense that you're asking. But like Yosef said,
Can I ask you a question,
most of the
Rabbi?
trip. Yes, Akiva.
Okay, because I'm a little bit. If the city is how you going from your house, and you have to see houses, correct? Is that what you're saying, Rabbi?
Now, if you see houses all along, then it's called you really never left the city. And you never left the city. But if
I'm going from the Bronx, from Manhattan to the Bronx, and I take the FDR, it doesn't mean that I have left the city. Is that
right? You're always in the city. You will not say Tfilas Derech. You will not say Tfilas Derech going from Manhattan to the Bronx. There's houses all along. You go to 240th Street. It's houses all along. You will not say Tfilas Derech.
Unless I check the FDR, there's no houses. Once you get on yesterday, there are no houses on that you see. You see far away. I mean,
yeah, but it's still not so far. It's not considered too far away. It's still nearby. The houses are still nearby, so it's not considered that you're really still in a safe. You didn't leave the city. You're not leaving. It's not a trip that you really left the city. So it would seem to be if there's houses all along the trip, that means there's no real danger in the trip, and they did not institute the Tfilas Derech because you never left the city. But once the trip contains within it an aspect of danger that you left the city, you're no longer in a place where there are people located, that people are there because you left the city, then that trip that you're taking has an aspect of it that's dangerous, even though the whole 72 minutes did not have, you didn't go 72 minutes without houses, but you did leave the city. You did put yourself, and you left your city and you went on a certain trip that contains this type of amount of time. So therefore, they said that type of trip that you're leaving the city, you would go ahead and have to say the special prayer.
So just to be clear, because I think it's a little bit confusing for many people here. It's not just like you don't see houses. It's about you leaving the city that you are on. So the city is like New York City. So if you're going from Manhattan to Queens to Brooklyn to Staten Island, it still counted the city because that's the limitation of the city. But if you left the city, you went to Long Island, okay, and it's more than 72 minutes, okay, it doesn't matter if you still see houses on the highway from here and there, it's still 72 minutes, okay, because you left the city. There's two conditions. Yes, you left the city and you 72 minutes ride, because the danger also is in the riding.
Yeah, but I don't, Joseph, I don't think so. Meaning, let's say if you go from New York to Pennsylvania, like in a lot of places they call it Pennsylvania. The fact that the fact that they just name it a different state, the fact doesn't change the fact that if you're still in the city, you never left. It happens to be they called this city Pennsylvania, they called the city New Jersey. They called it Long Island. They called it a different name. On Long Island, every time you go into another neighborhood, there's another town, another thing. Now you've entered the city of this, the township of that. It doesn't really. I don't believe that would require you to say it's Derech by the fact that the government gives it a different name. You didn't really. It's still the safety is there. If all the houses are there, it's populated, it's inhabited. I don't think that the fact that they just call it another name will make you go ahead and require you to go ahead and say that Tfilas Derech. Right? There are many
I don't know about
places.
that, because then it's like in today's condition, you have to have like really almost this desert just around you, or to go into Alaska or the wonderland of Canada.
No, not at that. No, you go upstate, you see, or you see there's places that there's no houses. And
Yeah, but if you look on the map, you don't see the houses in front of you, because there is always trees around that blocking the highway. But with the distance of like 10 minutes away, that you can find a house.
I'm saying, but if it's in a short distance, it's not so far. There's houses. It should be still considered you have you're still part of the city. Okay, this needs a lot more.
I don't want to. So, what would be considered safety? Because safety, you can go from anywhere, from uptown west to downtown, and the safety. How do you define safety in that case, Rabbi?
Safety. One of the ways of safety, when you go in an airplane, you're off the ground. You're not on the ground. You're in the air. So that's an issue of safety. It's a little issue of safety. The fact that you're not standing on the ground, that's an issue of safety. If you're leaving a city and there's nobody around, there's no trees around, there's no people around, there's no houses around, it's not inhabited, that's considered an issue of safety. When people are around, people live there, that's not where they instituted the bracha. That seems to be part of the. We'll try to continue tomorrow. We'll try to look more into the halachot. It seems very a lot of details to this halacha. And we'll try to think a little bit more. Thank you very much, everybody.
Rabbi,
have a good day.
You see, Rabbi, in the Tfilat HaDerech start with Yeratson, and he's not starting with Baruch Atah. He's not. What is connected to? Because you say Atah Gibor is connected.
What a question, Rabbi.
Right. That's so the Aruch HaShulchan answers your question, Yaron. Aruch HaShulchan says Kosev Tur. The Aruch HaShulchan is Simon Kuf Yud Sif Yudalad. The Torah says it doesn't open with a Baruch because it's a tefillah. It's really a prayer. It's not, even though it ends with a Baruch Atah Hashem Shomei Tefillah, but it's not really the normal type of a bracha. He says it's a tefillah to Hashem, that you're praying to Hashem that He should lead you to peace, a peaceful trip. And it's not like a bracha on food that you make a Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam. It's not like a bracha that they instituted. Let's say if something happened to somebody, Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam Dayan ha'emet, or something like that. Rather, it's a bakashat rachamim. It's a prayer. You are praying to Hashem, and really, it should not need a baruch at all, because you could pray without a baruch. I could pray, I could say any prayer without a baruch. If I want to create a prayer, if I want to create a new prayer, a short prayer, I could pray without a baruch. But because the text of the bracha has some meat to it, it has some length, right? Right? It has some length to the prayer. Therefore, the rabbi said we're going to put a baruch at the end, because since it has some length to it, we're going to add a Baruch Atah Hashem Shomei Tefillah. But really, it's not the typical bracha that requires a Baruch Atah Hashem in the beginning, and the only reason why it requires a Baruch at the end is because it's lengthy. So that's the answer of the of the read. But like we said, the Marame Rutenberg, he would always connect it to a previous bracha. He was concerned for your concern, and he always connected to a previous bracha. Like I told you, that's what I do. I go ahead and I say Shakol, and then I say Tfilas HaDerech, or I say Satfara, or I say Yatzaf, I went to the bathroom, whatever it is, or whatever it is, I will go ahead and connect it to the previous bracha. Is that good,
Beautiful,
Yaron?
Rabbi.
Have a
Yes.
great day, everybody.
Thank you, Rabbi. Have a good day, everyone. Have a good day. Thank
Great day,
you.
everybody. You too. Take care, everybody. Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.